a very odd time for the band.
Just felt like everything was shrinking, you know. Sales were down, we were on a smaller label, we were doing less touring.
Naming the album.com and trying to use that as a way of establishing our online presence. And the whole mailback thing, building up the fan base, that was very important, I think, in the overall story of the band. It was a band kind of fighting for its survival, really.
I think by the time we did .com, we were a bit fed up with the process. I mean, we weren't naive. We realised that when we left a major label, there would be differences. We didn't quite realise how close to the bone everything would be cut.
Well, we didn't know it when we signed to Castle that we were going to make an album a year, because it was a 3-album deal. We kind of soon realised that we had to make another album each time because we didn't have any money. We were kind of on a clock, you know, get the album done and then we can collect the money and we can pay the wages, sort of thing. So, and touring in those days wasn't really making much money.
Yeah, the relationship with Castle wasn't great, really. We'd seen our sales sort of dwindle with each album. You know, we didn't really have the time or the budget to spend as long as we would love to have spent on each record. So, but I mean, sometimes there's good things could come out of that. And I think some of the songs on .com are really good.
Got on quite well with Hugh Gilmore, who did the art. And everybody else was fairly... There was a guy called John Coker who used to swear a lot, said he. Pot and kettle. I don't really remember anybody else much from there. They were kind of not memorable people, but that's all been a bit tainted for me by the fact that the day I released Ice Cream Genius, they all ran off and ceased to exist, not as people, but as a company, and nobody even phoned me up to tell me. And so the whole Castle thing is slightly tainted with a general feeling of humiliation, betrayal and frustration.
I think they tried to do a good job, but their model was to sign a band with a bit of a history, get them to do an album for what they could afford, probably quite a lot less than we were used to getting. And we assumed that once, you know, if the album was doing quite well, they'd work it and they'd spend a bit more money, but they didn't.
Also, there were a lot of things happening, I think, on a personal level within the band. You know, I think Steve H was going through some strange times, personally. And I was definitely going through some strange times. I think I was living in America, but in the kind of middle of divorces and whatnot. So my mind wasn't completely crystal clear about a lot of things that were going on. But the Prozac really helped.
In those days, our backs really were to the wall with the money. We were having to kind of rush everything, I suppose, and pare everything back to the bone to get by.
I think we were just sort of heads down and let's get through this, really. Maybe it's sort of blind optimism, but things were pretty grim. But it's only really with hindsight that you can maybe see how grim they were, how close it maybe came to being the end of things.